Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. We are going to do our video on prospecting. So I'm actually going to go ahead and share my video, that way everyone can see exactly what I'm looking at here. At one point I put together a PowerPoint. It was basically called How to Make Six Figures in Real Estate. One day I'll do it with you guys, but this is exactly in this PowerPoint for what I created. So prospecting to me is the most crucial part when it comes to real estate, because if you don't have any prospecting, your pipeline is going to go dry. And with no pipeline, that equals no sales. No sales equals no money, and no money in a full-time job of real estate doesn't really make any sense. So I wanted to show you guys some things that I do and then other resources out there that you can do. So my biggest thing that I started out with was I made phone calls. I called leads. And calling leads is by far one of the hardest forms of prospecting. It's a really low conversion rate. You get nasty feedback. The leads are not nice. A lot of them just blow you off. They're not fun to deal with. But it's that 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000, whatever you think about it, that is truly going to make you that money. So really, it's all a numbers game, and you have to set the mindset that you're going to be successful in converting at least one person with ever how many numbers you come up with. Mine was, all right, every 1 out of 100, that's what I've got. If you know yours is 1 every 200, 300, then you know where you're at, you know what you stand, and you know what you have to do. So I knew, with me being young, I started when I was 20. I had no personal sphere of leads. I was never in the military, 20 years old, just out of high school, really. Dropped out of college. All my friends are in college, trying to figure out what to do, how to do it. And I learned from a team leader of mine that calling leads was huge, and that's where they got all their business, online business. So that's the path I started at, because I didn't really need any sphere on that. It was really, I'm just calling strangers, trying to convince them to me be their realtor. So I wanted to show you guys some stuff, some statistics and all that. So a cold caller will convert usually 1 to 3% of online leads. If it's 3%, they're doing amazing, but let's just say 1% in most cases. So that means if I called 100 people, 99 out of them are going to tell me no, which is heartbreaking for most people. Like they just can't take that rejection. So it's all about setting that mindset that you're going to get past that 99 and find that one person. So it's really tough to handle, but you have to have a short-term memory and just get over it, because that one is out there for you. It only takes one person to make a sale. And honestly, in our area, if our average sales price is $250,000 and we normally get 3%, then we're looking at an average of $7,500 per 100 phone calls. So in my brain, I'm like, all right, if I made 1,000 phone calls, maybe I could take that 7,500 to 30,000 a month. And at one point I did, and until I opened this company and got away from this. But that's what I'm trying to teach you guys, is you guys can do it just as a 21-year-old me could. So my phone calls probably weren't like most cold callers. I didn't want to sound like a robot. I didn't really have a script. I had a base script that I went off of, but I wasn't trying to go that salesperson approach. I was trying to be that more personable person, try and be friend with them, and try and find their problem and help them overcome that problem. Most of their problem was they needed help buying a house or selling, or they didn't know where to start, or they didn't have a good experience before. So whatever their problem was is what I tried to attack. So that's where I would talk to them, ask them questions. Most people would want to try and get off their phone, but I would keep asking them questions, keep them on the phone, find their struggles, find their problems, and then find a way to where they saw it to where I was useful for them and they'd want me to be their realtor. So you got to approach it in different ways. My way was not being the salesperson way. Mine was just being their friend, attack a problem. And then that's where I started really seeing my success, just being that personal person to them. So again, like I said, I didn't read directly off of scripts. I know most people who did, they sounded like robots, and I didn't like that. And actually, I've seen it quite a few times where I would give someone a base script that I created, and they'd read it word for word, and then they would just get hung up quick. And you can't do that. So most of my phone calls kind of went like this. I'd be like, hey, George, lead's name, how's it going? And at this point, most leads are confused. They're like, most of my friends know me as George, but who's talking to me like this? So normally they would be like, hey, who's this? So at that point, I know I've got the right person. So that's the most important part, that I've got the right lead I'm calling, because too many leads put the wrong name, wrong phone number. So at this point, I've already accomplished number one. I've got their name. I've got the right person. So my next step is to not sound like a salesperson. So my next sentence would usually be like, oh, hey, man, this is Austin, a realtor here in Virginia Beach, or whatever city they were looking at. So on Boomtown, we can see if they're looking at Chesapeake, Suffolk, Portsmouth, wherever. Wherever their city that says that they're looking, I say I'm at. So I'm saying, hey, Austin, this is Austin. I'm a realtor here in Virginia Beach. I saw you were checking out some houses in the area, or like they were looking at Red Mill. Say, hey, I saw you were checking out some houses in Red Mill. I was wondering if you wanted to see any of these in person this week. And I would do this because most of these people, they need you to be on just seeing houses. Most people, they want to see houses. So it was my goal to try and hook them there. And some people would say a bunch of different stuff. So I put down a couple common scenarios that I found that would happen. So most people would say, yeah, I'd love to. Can you do tomorrow? Or can you do today? Which has definitely happened to me before. I've had it before in the past, to where I got a lead today, got them pre-approved today, showed them houses today, wrote a contract today. And that's definitely happened multiple times in my life. So you never want to give up on leads, and you want to be the first to call them. The next thing that would probably happen is maybe not this weekend, but what about next weekend? It's still a good answer because I know they're still looking, so I'm going to stay on them on that. Some people would say, no, I'm only looking right now, and it's still not bad because you know they're still looking. You just don't know when their timeline is, so it makes it a little harder on your job, but that's where following up matters. And then some say, no, thanks, not interested, or I have a realtor. At that point, there's still some stuff you can say to that. So I've got a couple of different scenarios that I've got on here. So if someone says, yeah, I'd love to, can you do tomorrow? This is amazing because you know someone is very serious on buying a house. But maybe they're not ready, but they still want to see houses. So really, it's just building your pipeline at this point. And I'm all about building the pipeline. If I know, just say it's October right now, and I know I've got someone who's going to buy in June, I'm going to stay on this person until June, because that's money for June. Like, as a realtor, you have to look in the future. You can't just look at today, say I'm not making money today, because potentially I can make no sales next month and make 7 sales in December. And really, in my book, that kind of equals out, because then it'd be like 3 and 4, and that would still be a little bit better than most people. But for this person, you know, it's all about getting in front of them, being that face-to-face person, attacking their problem, trying to get them pre-approved. You know, I have that hook of saying, hey, would you like to see houses this week? But really, it's not to just show houses immediately. It's to get them pre-approved, and then, you know, get them through different stages, try and make sure that they are eligible to buy, that they are serious on buying now. Like, if their rent is up next month, they're pre-approved, let's go. It's ready. But if this other person says, maybe not this weekend, what about next weekend? You know, it's almost like the same buyer that I'm talking to. You know, we're still pretty serious. Maybe they just have plans this weekend, and they can't for the next week. So my goal is to still get in front of them, either meet them at a house, get them into the office. Just getting them to see me face to face is going to really, really bring up your chances of capturing this buyer, or just this random stranger that you don't know, to be your client now. So I want to create that relationship with them. So even if they say maybe not this weekend, what about next weekend? Or if they just say maybe not this weekend, you know, you still want to stay on them, because it's all about that follow-up and making sure you capture them as your client, and you don't want them going off anywhere else. If this other person says, no, I'm only looking right now, it's still not bad, because you know they're still looking. So again, somehow I want to try and get in front of them. I want to try and get a search. And actually, for all of these 3 people that we just talked about, I always want to get a search up, because whenever I send them a house, my name is attached to that. So I want them to consistently think of, okay, Austin house, Austin house. Yes, Austin, send me these houses. As soon as I find a house I like, then I want to call Austin. So the goal is to nurture them, and, you know, I want to follow up with them as much as possible. And then at this point, I really want to create a drip campaign. So if they're saying, I'm only looking right now, I'm looking to buy in a year. I've even got a campaign in Boomtown that says a year out. Basically, it shoots them a text every 25 days. Because just say if someone says they want to buy a year from now, that, like, they're saying, no, I'm only looking right now, They tell you a year, but they're just kind of guessing. There's been times in my life where I would follow up 6 months later thinking I'm being proactive to find out they bought a house 2 months ago. So really, if I would have just followed up for the next 3-4 months, then I would have probably closed that lead. But because I didn't, I lost that person. So that's something you got to take in consideration as well, because a lot of people say a year out just to kind of get off the phone. But really, that's where you really, really got to stay on top of them, because I can't tell you how many times to where I lost that lead, where I thought I was being proactive, and then they ended up buying houses months later, and I was very upset of losing that pipeline there. And then this person that says, no thanks, I already have a realtor. In this instance, I always go, oh, that's great. What's their name? You know, I always try and put them on the spot and see if it's actually legit, because really this is just an objection that most people are trying to say to get off the phone. So if they tell me a person's name right away, okay, that's probably legit. Then at that point, I can't help them. I'm not going to interrupt them. But 90% of the time, they're kind of lying on this. So they say yes, they say name. Then I'll even say, oh, did you guys get a buyer broker agreement signed? And most people won't know what that is. So I'm like, did you guys sign anything? And if they say no, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. How would you like a second opinion on someone else sending you houses? Because maybe I can find you something that that person can't. And if I do, would you like to see it with me? That way you can try and snag them almost from the other realtor. It's not really shady because I'm actually helping this person more than this realtor is. But really, it's all about money in the end. And if I don't close on a house, then I'm not going to make any money. So why would I turn down an objection like this that says, no thanks, I already have a realtor, when really it's just a common objection, and all I have to do is get over it. So you got to find creative ways to get over it. So that's where I always try and get that second opinion in there, and see if I can show them houses or send them houses that maybe the other realtor won't find. So that one's key there. But that's usually what I do when it comes to online prospecting. There are definitely many, many other forms of prospecting. And another one that I was successful off of was expireds and withdrawings. You can call expireds, FSBOs, and withdrawings. Paying for leads and cold calling, that was the one I did. Using social media, I can't tell you how many I've gotten off of this, just off of Facebook and Instagram. Now that I am a little older, a lot of my friends are buying houses now, so it's kind of cool that I'm in the age. Most people, their friends are buying and selling all day. But because I'm in social media a lot, to where I'm consistently posting stuff about real estate, you know, I'm kind of imprinting in the back of my friends' minds, and even their friends of friends, that saying, okay, when it comes to real estate, Austin is the man to call. I think the average is 1 out of 5 people, or one person knows on average about 5 other realtors. So how do you stand out from those other 5? Well, if you're consistently in their face because everyone's in social media, then they're going to think of you first, and that's the key. It's been very upsetting that I've lost many friends. I want to say many friends. It sounds like many. It's like 3 or 4 that bought houses with other realtors because they didn't think about me. And that's just my fault for not following up with them, saying, okay, yeah, I'm in that age now. Why am I not calling my friends who I know who have the good jobs, who I know they're renting? Why don't I give them a call and see if they're actually ready to buy? So social media has been huge for me. That's probably where 1/3 of my sales actually come from. And then the other third is actually paying for leads and cold calling. And then at the time, the other third was making cold calls with the expires and withdrawals. But now it's more of a sphere on that instance. I do a lot of networking stuff, so I go to as many things as I can. I try to go to at least one every week or one every other week. Really just get my name out there. The biggest thing that I have that most people don't is the Virginia and North Carolina license. So you would be shocked on how many people, how many other realtors send me business for North Carolina because they don't have that license. So that's just me networking with other realtors saying, hey, look, you know, if you got a buyer in North Carolina, you know, I'd love to help them out for a 25% referral fee. And, you know, they do it. So it's amazing that just because I have that license, to where that's another form of prospecting for me. Something that just happened to me recently was at an open house. I had an open house about a month and a half ago on one of my listings. I usually do this for all my listings, where I'll put the house on the market on Wednesday and Thursday, and then have an open house Saturday and Sunday. Well, the house went on the market that Thursday, and I couldn't have an open house that following weekend. So the following weekend, I did an open house. And in there was a guy in there that didn't have a realtor. So that's the biggest key why I do these open houses, is to find these buyers who don't have agents. And I know they're actually looking at houses and physically because they're at a house. So it's amazing because one, I know they're looking. Two, I can meet them in person and actually bring out my personality to them. And that's key. If I get them to like me, they're going to work with me. So really it's something, it's a psychological thing. But usually what I do is I get people to talk about themselves, because when people talk about themselves, they've some reason have more of a connection with you because you're actually listening and now they like you. So if you do that more and get people to like you, probably more people will use you. But at this open house, you know, this guy, he doesn't look like a guy that would normally, I'll put it this way, most people would actually be scared of him just because the way he dressed, the piercings he had on his face. And, you know, you can't look at people that way. So I became friends with him instantly. You know, we connected on motorcycles. I love motorcycles, so we were talking about it at the open house. Then as we're walking around, I'm showing him the house and all that. And he was like, man, I really like this house. He's like, do you know what it would take for a mortgage on this? So I already have a lender in house. So I was like, yeah, I know exactly what it would take. And I told him this house would take about $750 a month based off the current list price. And he couldn't believe it. His dad loved it too. He was a first-time home buyer. The dude loved the house. Ultimately, I ended up doing dual sides on this deal because I held that open house. So I got it under contract that weekend for my sellers and made him my buyer on it. So I got dual on a house, and the house was like 130. So on a house that's 130 that you're expecting like a $4,500 check, now I got an $8,000 something check, which is amazing, where most people won't get that in the low 100s. But yeah, open houses are great. In the very beginning, I held them every single weekend, and especially when I had a listing, I would definitely hold them almost every single weekend for that listing. Because one, my sellers thought it was that I was actually doing something. You know, they like seeing the physical stuff rather than just seeing the stuff online. But two, I was really doing it to pick up more buyers, not necessarily to actually sell the house, but to get more buyers for myself. So open houses are huge. Hosting events are great. Dan Inman is amazing at this. He actually hosts events for his clients, you know, client appreciation events. He told me on average he'll spend about $1,000, $1,500 an event, and actually he's hosting one this weekend that unfortunately I can't go to. But he had one not too long ago, probably 6 months ago at this time actually, to where I think it was the movie thing. Either way, he spent just say $1,500 on it, and he told me he ended up getting 4 leads out of that eventually turned into sales. So if he spent $1,500 on prospecting, really, to where you're going to get 4 sales out of it, and let's just say he averaged $7,000 per sale, that's $28,000 return on $1,500 spent. So doing something like that is huge. I've talked to Greg Chaplin, who is the absolute pro at this. This guy will throw down $10,000, $15,000 on an event, make it beyond amazing, and he always plans it out like 2 months in advance. So his way is the Buffini method, which is basically hosting events, staying in front of people, and getting referrals. This is really what the referrals is with the hosting events. But anyways, he'll follow people every week for 8 weeks, trying to get as many people there. And this dude, like I said, will spend 10 to 15 grand on it, and in return make like 150,000 on it. I'm not even kidding on this too. Him and his team do about 80 million in volume a year. It's tough to like put in your brain, how am I going to throw down $10,000 on this party? But he has found the perfect way of doing it. Greg Chaplin is a great resource, and he's always happy to sit down with you. I even sit down with him to learn from him. And, you know, even though I'm the principal broker, I still go out and try and find other resources and what others do to make them successful. That way I can share these stories with you. So Dan and Greg, they do an amazing job. Talk to them because they are great people and they're very smart. But this list can go on and on. Expires and withdrawals are amazing, and they're amazing in instance of usually getting a dual sale by helping them sell and buy, because all of them are listings, and some people have tough times with listings. The listings are amazing times for picking up buyers as well, like I said, with the open houses, and sometimes they need to buy as well. So if you can get the dual on that, like James just told me, he's helping people that he's going to list their house, I think around 300,000, but either way, they're going to buy a house in around 600,000. So this is a $900,000 client to where he'll make possibly $27,000 off of one person. So those are huge. Expireds and withdrawals and FSBOs, they're really, really tough. I mean, it's literally maybe 1 out of every 1,000 that you're going to get. But still, if you know you can call 1,000 of them in 1 week and you're going to get one of those, and you're going to get possibly a $600,000 client, just say 300 sell, 300 buy, and that's 18 grand, is getting rejected 999 times worth 18,000. In my opinion, it is. But you know, that's where you got to think to yourself, okay, can I mentally handle it? Can I physically make those phone calls? Can I do it? And if you can get past all of that, ultimately you're going to be an amazing realtor. And you know, using social media is easy these days. Canva is very easy to use. All you have to do is post on it. If you have a closing, just take a photo of it, show the people that you actually sell the houses. You know, you have to get out there and talk to people. So doing all of that is amazing. And really where I started was I paid for leads, but then ultimately I led to other aspects to where now it's not just all of online leads is my business. Now it's from here, 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 and here. And if you guys can take that, you know, it's the best thing to do. I reinvest a lot of my money in the beginning on leads. And then I got a transaction coordinator. Social media is huge. I did get a dialer for Mojo, so I could call all of those leads. So with the online leads, expireds, withdrawals, you know, I would take it from calling 50 leads in a day to calling 200 to 300 leads in a day in the same amount of time as well. So that is really what's something that boosted my stuff as well. And then, yeah, that's the biggest thing I could say. The last thing I could say to it is making sure you live off your calendar. And I'm going to show you guys my calendar, for instance. Let's just say I'm talking to a lead and, you know, they're like, hey, I can only see houses on Wednesday. What time do you have available? I can look right here, know exactly when I'm available, or just say, hey, I can only see houses Thursday. And then at that point, I'll say, okay, I can show you houses between 11:30 and 3 today. When works for you? That way, you know, I'm always on top of it, and my prospecting is now to the most maximized potential it could be. So I really encourage you guys to do all of those things, everything I talked about. You know, if you guys need help, you know, I'm always here to help. I know Leslie is an amazing source for online leads as well. She does an amazing job on contacting leads, how to talk to them. And I think her biggest thing as well is she sounds like a real person. She's friendly. And that's what people want to talk to. They don't want to talk to a salesperson, in my opinion. And I think that's why Leslie has done really well. I think that's what led me to be successful as well. So if you're just yourself, then you are going to do an amazing job. Building that pipeline is huge, and I'm all about that pipeline. So if you can build that pipeline, be yourself, follow by a schedule, and actually do the work, then you will be successful in real estate. So if you guys ever need any help, you know, I'm always here to help you out. And what's funny is I actually, there it is. Okay, I couldn't find out how to close the thing. So I'm always here to help you guys. If you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out, guys. All right, so everyone take care.